everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad you're here. And we are here again with another episode, another recording of the podcast, Maria and Friends. And I'm so excited about today's podcast. We will be doing a part two because the last time I had this guest, I had Coach Smilie with us. She was so full of information, so full of just encouragement, so full of knowledge that we only got to question one and just we did a lot of talking. So hopefully we'll get a little bit further today. And thank you so much for all your comments. We appreciate that. All your Facebook comments, all your likes. And stay tuned because at the end of the podcast and recording, she's going to tell you where you can find her, where you can get her information, where she'll be available to you. And so stay tuned all the way to the end and it's going to be exciting. So I just let me give my introduction as I always do. So hello everybody, but welcome back to Money and Friends, the podcast where we dive deep into topics that will bring us closer to our authentic selves and we'll be able to teach each other. I'm your host Maria, and today we have a wonderful guest who is here to talk about women and friendship and how we can keep those connections genuine and uplifting. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share a quick disclaimer. Money and Friends is a space where we share personal experiences, stories, and insights. We are not professionals. I'm not giving advice. We are here to share what has worked for us, what has worked for me, in the hopes that this might resonate with you some way. And so, with that, let's take what blesses you and helps you, and we move forward from there. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And today I have the honor and the privilege of presenting to you again our guest, Smilie Filomeno Rodriguez, MSW. Smilie is a powerhouse in the empowerment world, and she brings us so much joy and authenticity to everything she does. She's the founder and CEO of Smilie Empowerment LLC, a Latina life coach, motivational speaker, host of the Smilie Empowerment podcast, and the content creator. So, welcome, Ms. Smilie. Thank you so much for joining us and being with us today.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure. Part two. So, it's an honor to be here again. I am completely thrilled that we're doing this together. Maria, you are a powerhouse yourself.
Oh, thank you
So,
for
I am happy to be here on the part two. Part one was super packed and we did
yes.
so much on part one, and I'm so happy that you brought me back for the women in friendship part two. So it's an honor and privilege to be here.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into women and friendship part two.
Part
So
two.
let me ask you this question in regards to women and friendships and things like that. So many of us lead busy lives, balancing career, family, and personal goals. How can women maintain friendships and stay connected even though our time is limited?
What you're saying, that's a great question. You're saying, like, together, how can we maintain? Because so many of us, we're so busy, Maria, that we tend to neglect, not on purpose,
Correct.
our friends. So I say that we need to get creative. Everyone is busy. So nowadays, that liner, when we give folks that, es que estoy ocupada, I'm just so busy. We
Yeah.
have to get, everyone is busy. We all have 24 hours, 7 days, 365. The difference, Maria, of what I've seen when we struggle to meet with other fellow women in our family or friends is time management. So because we all have the same time, right, and space, and we're also busy with, our family, home, work, businesses, kids.
Yeah.
Everybody has different, right, Maria?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what I found that has helped my clients and students and myself as well is to think outside the box, get creative on how we're managing our time, and for us to get out of our comfort zone. Why do I say that? Many of us are just used to, well, I see you maybe in a few months, one time we do coffee or something like that. I say think outside the box. If you can't have the time, right? Make that time to meet your friend out. Now with technology, you can use FaceTime,
Oh yeah.
you can use a WhatsApp, you can get creative with technology. Another quick tip that I have for you ladies, and for gentlemen too, get into the habit of scheduling things at the moment. So, Maria, for instance, when you and I were trying to do this, right? Setting this up right away while we were talking, you were like, let me
Absolutely.
know when you're available. Instead of me saying, I'll get back to you, let me check. Now with the phones, we have, and I'm live here on Facebook on my phone here.
Good, good, good.
That's hi, my community. Now with Facebook, I mean with our phones, we can go to our calendar right on the phone and right away just look at two dates that may work, even if we space it out to 3 weeks or 2 weeks. Why do I say this? We stall a lot. We say a lot and that we don't have time. So get creative outside the box. Go out for a walk with a friend. Don't make it that it has to be something so complicated,
Yeah.
and do things that you enjoyed, right? That you enjoy, whether it's a movie, whether it's going out for lunch. And if you're on a budget, because I've got that too in coaching, where some people are telling me my financial status has changed, Smiley, and my friends, I can't keep up with them.
Wow.
I still say, listen, that still doesn't excuse that you don't connect with your friend. That's why I said you could do now they have different apps, Maria. You could do a streaming of watching a movie together, like a
Oh,
party.
wow.
Do it on your phone. You could do FaceTime. You could play games with your friend virtually. So we have to get creative and not just say I'm busy. That's like blanket statement for everything. And nowadays that doesn't fly because everyone is busy. And if we want to nourish our friendships, we have to make the time for our meaningful connections.
That makes sense because I have this friend that she schedules calls. I'm like, what? Yes, I my phone. I schedule. Okay, in a week I'm gonna call my mom, and I mean, in this day I'm gonna call so and so. Excuse me. So she has her call schedule, and once in a while she'll start, I have to call this and this and this, and she has schedule. I'm like, I would never think that I would have to schedule a call with a friend, but actually it works for her because she won't miss, long distance calls, and she stays connected. And I agree with you. We have to be creative in
Mhm.
staying connected. So let me ask you this question,
Yes.
because we have to stay connected with friends. Should we have a lot of friends, or what friends do we need to stay connected to? And does because I have a lot of friends. If I have to stay connected with all of them, I won't go to work. So
Good point.
which do you suggest, or in your experience, are the calls that you have to make, or the friendships that you need to purposely, with intent, keep those?
Intentional.
What friendships do you think? Like, I can think of three friends right now in my mind. Three friends right now
Mhm.
that I can't drop the ball on those. I can't drop the ball on them because they're my ride or die. So, but
That's what I like to call the first tier.
so you can
That's the
spin that out
first
would be great.
tier. That's the first tier. So you're asking me, and remember, to a disclaimer, I'm here. I'm not practicing as a therapist. I am a life empowerment coach. I have a background in mental health, but I want to give a disclaimer that nothing we say here. I'm not acting as a therapist here, as well as Maria is not, and make sure that what we offer you is guidance and suggestions. So
Correct.
you may try what I say and say, guess what, Coach Smiley, that didn't even work. Don't expect that what we give you tonight,
Yeah.
the tips, that you apply it once or twice and it works. So just a disclaimer, because I've had people message me to say that didn't work and they get a little upset. So you can't the question about how many friends should we keep and keep in contact, I leave it to um to your discretion, right?
Okay.
Because we have different personalities. In my friend group, I have friends that they have so many friends, but then they have tiers, right? You have tiers. You have your best friend, you have a close friend, you may have a group of friends
Yeah.
that are closer in church, but then you have one friend from a work
Yeah.
that you considered closer. So I would say, and Maria, if I can add this, which this is not, I didn't think I was going to share today this, but I will. On my other social media platforms, I did a challenge, and I'm going to connect it to what you just asked. I think it's going to help you. I did a love in action challenge with Coach Smiley. I just put that up today, and I asked folks to join me in that challenge. Love in action, 30 days. 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 challenge with Coach Smilie. And I explain what that is. And what that is that I would like for folks to write down on a piece of paper who are the meaningful relation what those meaningful relationships for you. Who are they, right? And I want you to divide it in groups of your life area. So you have your family group, your friendship group, and the friendship group could be on social media and off social media, because many of us have friends that don't even
Yeah,
have social media, right?
correct.
So nowadays that's even another grouping. And then I want you to divide in your relationship with your children or adult kids. You they also, there's a category. Parents is a category. Romantic relationship, right? Business associates, all of your categories. Work friend, work area, and what mentors, coaches, all of the meaningful relationships that you have. List them out, and this could take you a few minutes. Some
Yeah.
people have smaller group. This may take you a little longer, because I want you to think about who are the meaningful relationships that you would like to, in the new year, get better at. Once you make the list, because it's love in action,
Yeah.
I want you to ask yourself this one question. The first one to start with each name, you're going to go down the list and you're going to ask yourself, what do I want in this relationship?
And
And
thank
what,
you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Gina. She says, I love this. My friendships are so meaningful.
I love it. I love it. So with that, when you go through the list, Gina, I'm so happy that your friendships are so meaningful. And it's the meaning that you give it. Some people don't value as much friendships, right? But if you do, and all the other areas of your life, find out who are those meaningful people. So let's stick with friendship, since that's the topic of today. But I wanted to make sure that you know you could make this list for other areas of friendship, of relationship. One, let's stick with friendship. Once you list your top tier. I like to call it the top tier. Even in your circle, right? Then you have the top tier, then the next tier, and the more you go down is less meaningful. It's not that they're not special or important, but they're not your core group, right? You want to start with
Correct.
those first. So those friends, once you decide who is meaningful, then ask yourself with each name. Let's just say three names: Maria, Smiley, and Jill. Maria, and then I ask myself, what relationship that I want with Maria? Then the next person. When you ask yourself that, you answer back with, oh, with Maria, I would love to have more collaboration. I would like to have more contact. I would like to have trust. Then you ask yourself, the second part is asking yourself, do you provide that for your friend Maria? And what that helps to do is for you to check in the health, like the temperature of the status of your relationship. Do you
Wow,
need
that's
to tweak it?
that's deep right there. Do I provide that for them? Ooh, that
Right?
I'm gonna be dropped off from several people's lists.
Oh, no, no, no. So then what
Oh my
happens,
god, that's
Maria,
good.
in what you asked,
Yeah.
that's a love in action, right? So you're going to just you start out with your friends of those that are meaningful, and then ask, what relationship do I want with Maria, with Smiley, with Jill, with whoever, right? Then you're going to notice, oh, wow, with Maria, I want this. Because with
Yeah,
each friendship, you may want something different.
correct.
And then you're going to check for yourself, the check in. Do I provide that for them? And then you take it a step further. We could go all down the line, but it's you meeting with your friend and saying, hey, I took this love challenge with Coach Smiley, and I put you on my list because you're meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And I was looking that what I want from our relationship lately, you've been, I'm completely satisfied, but I would like to improve this, and that. I would like this from you. I'm not sure if you can provide it. And then I want to give you the opportunity to take the challenge. Is there anything from me? What would you like to see for me to offer to you? And this starts you
Wow.
creating this meaningful, deepening your relationship and
Correct.
finding what you need to tweak and
Yeah.
giving thanks for what's good. Now, with what you asked about, then how do you know who to keep up with, right? So now I'm going to go directly to that question for everyone that's watching. This is very delicate because in different seasons of your same friendships, you could be closer or a little bit more distant. I'm going to give you an example. My best friend lives in Florida. I live in New York. So we know each other for many years. And in our relationship, she travels over here more than I travel to go to her because her mom lives here. And what we try to do our best is that we text every morning, good morning, how are you feeling today? How's your day going? How are you feeling? Every morning we do that. That's a point of contact, right? However, there are times that she may not do it and I don't get upset. Why do I bring this up? Because we have to be flexible. So your first tier of people, you want to know out of those three people, what's happening in their life. Because Maria, maybe 2 months ago, you needed to be closer to one of the other friends because she's going through something. So it's
Correct.
constantly you checking in. Who do I need to nourish a little more or spend a little bit more time? And then those that you can't spend time, Maria, because I heard you say, "Oh my God, I have a lot of friends that I'm
Yeah.
probably not." Then don't give yourself grace.
Okay.
At least let them know this is my point of reference, so you can salvage, or at least that they don't feel as neglectful. Those that are not in the first tier that you're like, or that you don't have a lot of time for them,
Yeah.
again with technology,
Yeah.
with a call or even a text to say, hey, let's say it's me. Hey, Smiley, I know I've been missing for a while. I just wanted to check in and let you see how you're doing. Listen, let's see if in another month or two, because right now I've been so busy, but I've been thinking of you. Let's set up that brunch, maybe like in 2 months, okay? You see? Now that
Oh, that's
person,
good. That's
now
good.
that now she doesn't feel so neglected. You don't give her you can't provide for her now because you tell me, Smiley, I am so busy, I'm spread thin, I can't.
Yes.
But at least she has this text from you or a brief call. Or
Yeah.
nowadays, guys, we do voice notes that are so quick on the phone.
Yes. I like
A
that.
quick voice note. Hey, amiga,
Yes.
¿cómo está?
Ándale.
Pensaba en ti. I was thinking of you. Listen,
Ajá.
I've been so busy. Please don't think that I'm neglecting you. I
Sí,
miss you.
sí.
Let's see if in a month we could meet up. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
many of us, we kind of don't do that because
Yeah.
we feel bad. I've had friends that have told me, I'm such a bad friend. I haven't been around you. I'm such a bad friend. And I always correct them and I say, listen, you're not a bad friend because of that.
Yeah.
That's not what determines a bad friend. Now, how you manage your time and communicating to me, then we got to work on that. But that doesn't mean that you're a bad friend because lately you've been MIA, missing in action. I just ask that at least you drop a little note or text just letting me know. So, like that, because you know what happens, Maria? Our brain doesn't like to not know things. So, when you,
Yes.
Maria, are in silence for a long time, my brain, and it's all of our brain, starts looking for answers. ¿Por qué será? Why would it be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is she mad at me? Did I do something?
Right?
You
You
see?
oh my God, you start inventing
Inventing.
a novela, and
Yes.
Gina wants she has Gina has another comment. She says, "Oh, we love it. I'm working on this on 2025. I wave to be I what I wave to be a better friend. I lost myself for a while, but my besties held the gap. But for next year, I am watering my friendships to my meaningful female
Nope.
relationships." Gina, she is so
Amazing.
sweet. She is, oh my God, she gives the best hugs. I see her in church all the time and she gives me these great hugs and she calls me mija. And if you don't know that about me, I love when they call me mija. It's a
Alright, but
Mexican.
tengo que hacer I have to make a note of that. See, those are the little detalles, the
Es que
details.
¿cómo se it's because I've been around so many Mexican women and older women. I just love the way they say mija, mija, and it's just a term of endearment.
Yes.
And I like that Gina doesn't speak Spanish, but she does say that. So Gina says, "No way, mija." You see?
Yeah, I see her. That is amazing. But you see how
Yes, ma'am.
just to show an illustration, Gina, I am so happy that you have recognized. I'm speaking to Gina right now and anybody else. It is not easy to recognize when we fall short, right? Sometimes we become very defensive in our friendships about the very thing that we're not doing that good for a friend. For your best friend to hold down the gap is amazing.
Yes.
Not all the time we're going to be at 100. So when you have that type of level of understanding with a friendship, that she doesn't take it personal, she doesn't internalize it, She understands, right? And then what I love about Gina that she's illustrating is that she's saying, listen, for 2025, I am going to nourish my friendship. She's going to be intentional about it to improve. So she's not taking it personal like I'm a bad friend, but she recognizes where she maybe needs to tweak the
Yeah.
friendship. I'm all about talking, and I was just talking about it yesterday on my live on Instagram, and I go live on TikTok as well. How do you strengthen the meaningful relationships? And it's important. We don't think about that,
Yeah.
right? Like, how can we strengthen those relationships and learn how to be a healthier friend, right? It's not about good or bad. It's more like learn from each other. Like, people, my closest friends, they know what I don't like,
Yeah.
right? They know what makes me feel not heard, seen, valued by them. They
Mm.
try their best to love me in a way that I receive it. Of course, not perfect. And in turn, I also know. You saw what I did. I made a note, literally,
Yes. Oh, I
about that you like to be called Mija. Why do I say I have to? And you can make mental notes because you want to learn about friends like, so you can, from time to time, you can bless them with
yeah.
that praise, like for you, or
Mhm.
you can also, depending their love language, some people like to be showered with gifts. It doesn't have to be expensive. I have a
Yeah.
friend that she gives me when I used to work with her, because I no longer work there. I resigned to do this this coaching business. She would leave me on my desk, and I was a supervisor, but we became friends. She would leave me like a donut with a note.
Oh, yeah.
I do that as well. So you can do a just because surprise. You know where your friend works, send them flowers. Or if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you yourself can take, lunch for them. There
Yeah.
are different ways to show your girly, to show your friend, and I don't want to leave the men out, to show your buddy also that you appreciate them. And everybody has a different way. But ghosting people is what I feel like, staying too long silent
Mhm.
even though you need space. I've also coached people that have said to me, listen, I've been love bombed, which we talked about this in the first one and we didn't go too much into it. But when you notice in a relationship where even in friendships where at the beginning they're just showering you with so many gifts and just all over you, always texting, then all of a sudden you do something wrong that they didn't like, and now all of a sudden they turn and everything stops. Now they become a mean girl and you're like, what happened? That's because
Yes.
they were love bombing you. They were just
Wow.
doing things to, in an exaggeration. And sometimes people that do that, they manipulate the
Yes.
friendship. And it's important for us to recognize the type of friendships we have. And we're talking very positive here, but sometimes you got to, make decisions of more distancing
Correct.
yourself or ending some toxic relationships or friendships. But the friendship, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm a person that I believe in God, and I, you know, look at the word, not that anybody has to, but even in the Bible it talks about cherishing our friendships, that they're
Yes,
treasures and they're
definitely.
to be cherished. And
Yes.
there's studies, and then I'll get to the next question. There are research and studies that show, neuroscientists have proven that our friendships, as we're aging gracefully, right, as
Thank you.
our so having the social component and the friendships gives us more longevity and the quality of our
Really?
health. So
Wow.
really, let's keep embracing friendships, and
Yes.
especially adult friendships and female friendships, because as we're getting older, that impacts our health, our mental health, our physical health. And people don't think about this, but you can Google this. There's so much research that shows the meaning of having a friend and a social group in your life.
Wow, we are learning so much. This is one of those episodes that you need to replay, go back. Like if you're in the middle of the broadcast, I'm just gonna suggest that you go back. This is gonna be on YouTube, so don't you can see it here on Facebook. We're gonna post it in several places. You can go to our YouTube channel and go back and see it from the beginning because what she explained about the tiers and how to put people and that, I mean, that I'm gonna do that. Honestly, I'm gonna do that. It's great, great advice. So so let's go on to the next question because we are learning so much. Um
Thank you.
and here, let's see, what advice would you give women who feel they're outgrown a friendship is there a way to transition or evolve these connections with kindness and respect?
Oh,
Let me be transparent. I'll share something with that on that. There was a friendship that I had to uh I don't know the right word. I just had to cut her off. I'm gonna let me be blunt. I just had to cut
okay.
her off because she was exhausting. It was like what she wanted me to give her, I didn't have it in me. The level of attention that she wanted from me, it was just impossible. I'm like, woman, I'm not married to you. It was and then she would get mad and then she would say, but you're a Christian and you're a minister and you should help me and you should this and be my friend and I had to navigate, but it was my fault because I didn't know enough. Well, at that time I didn't know enough. I didn't have enough maturity because I felt that every single person that I met and wanted to be my friend, I had to be. For example, so and so says, "Hey, Maria, I want to be your friend." I'm like, "Okay."
Mm.
Then I have to be your friend because you want to be my friend real bad. So I'm like, why not? Why wouldn't I want to be your friend? But then I said yes to her. And then as we became more friends, she would love bomb me. And I know what that was. I didn't have the words. Like sometimes some people don't have the words and they don't have the education. And this is why we do this. So you can put words to the feelings and the actions. And so she loved bomb me a lot. And she bought me expensive stuff and she bought me this. And I didn't ask for none of that, but in this and this and that. And then she would say, but I did this for you, but I did that for you because I want to show you
Mhm.
my love. And I did not know how to manage that. I did not know how to navigate that. And then she would call me and she would text me and she would call me and text me, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, follow me on all my social platforms, and started to make comments and say, well, you don't answer my call, but you'll answer the people's, and I'm like, Dios mío. So I finally had to have, the conversation and I think it went 1 year at the other because she kept at it, and I finally had to block her. But I don't know. What do you think I should could have done better? Obviously, not be her friend. I don't know, but
Well, it's very complex, right? Because, and there are other people that are listening that could be in similar situations, but there's always, to every relationship, there's always a difference, right? Like something that changes. One of the things that I can share for you is that it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, especially if this person was love bombing you. People that love bomb like that, they're very manipulative, right? And
yes,
you yourself don't learn till after and you look back, right? So what you can gather from that, what were some of the earlier signs maybe that you saw, the controlling, right, the manipulation and things like that. So now you learn for future relationships to see the signs earlier. However, what I would say for anyone that's evaluating their relationship, a friendship, and they're thinking things are not going well, first, if first there's no harm to you, right? Because we want to make sure that they're not harming you physically or abusing you. But if it's about, something we ran its course, we see that we got two different paths, or this is too overwhelming, it's always negative, then
yes,
I say you have to be good with, first and foremost, taking care of you, and make sure that you accept, be honest and accept what is. And I have to say from personal experience, a few years, like about 8 years ago, something happened to me similar with a friend, and it used to be my best friend, and I wasn't accepting of this friend when she started changing, early signs of distance, meaning canceling
oh,
at last minute for things for us to do, just different things that she started pulling away. There was no argument, so there was no argument.
mhm,
However, there was a shift, and I really didn't. I was seeing these signs, but I couldn't. To me, I couldn't tie it in that she was already out of the relationship. So
wow,
it's accepting and analyzing where you're at, and when someone no longer serves the purpose of your life of peace, love. And for you, Maria, it could be different. Someone else can say, "Oh, I'm okay if my friend, you know, love bombs on me. I don't care." Like, everybody's different. So
yeah,
what's good
yeah,
for you may not be for someone else. So
yes,
I think that in those connections, I say part ways. If you're gonna part ways, do it with grace and kindness and compassion. Because sometimes people sometimes people, when they part ways, it could get very nasty from
Yeah.
both parties. And my advice, it has always been part with grace and kindness, right? Making sure that, because that's another human being as well. As much as they love bomb and just, when you're going to part ways, do it in a graceful way. Because there was a part of that relationship at one point, that person that you cared and loved, it changed, but still
Yeah.
there's respect, right? You want to offer them respect and kindness. So transitioning is understanding that the relationship ran its course, and also loving yourself to know, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Many friendships sometimes tolerate, from the other friend, they tolerate things that they're not worthy of, that they don't deserve. Certain friends that maybe treat them wrong, or constantly giving them backhanded compliments, or there's envy, there's jealousy. And I also speak to, now when I'm here, I also speak to those people that are that type of friend. I Because we're always talking about, they do this, they do that, but you may be the person that's listening now and saying, you know what, talking to Maria and Smiley, I'm noticing that I may not be pulling my own strength in this relationship, or that I could be a little toxic. Just recently on TikTok, I had a live talking about this.
Yeah.
Someone was so brave. I'm not going to mention her name, but there was a person who came on my TikTok. And as I was talking about relationships and how to keep the relationship meaningful, but then know when you got to part ways, this person put on the chat, while I'm hearing you live, listening to what you're saying, I'm realizing that I'm the toxic person. I'm realizing that I'm the
Wow.
one who needs to work on myself. I'm
Wow.
the toxic person. And Coach Smiley, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on me, because I don't want to be that anymore.
Yeah.
That blew me away, because one, she had
Wow.
courage to admit that
Yes.
she had, right? Because it's very easy for us, right, to say, no, it
Mhm.
has to be Smiley, it has to be Maria.
Yeah.
They're the ones.
Yeah.
And we don't look at,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
friendship, what do you contribute? So this
Right.
person said that while she was listening to my live, and she was there for the whole, I was there for 2 hours, and she was there for the whole 2 hours. Towards
Wow. That's
almost the
crazy.
end, she said, Smiley, yeah, Coach Smiley, now I'm realizing I'm the toxic person. And then I told her, listen, don't judge yourself, don't have shame, and I applaud you. And I had everyone put yellow hearts, because in Smiley Empowerment Community, we love to give hearts. We're all about the hearts, right? But in the
Yay.
chat, we put yellow hearts for compassion, patience. I see you. If somebody shares something vulnerable. So we all bum rushed the chat for her,
Oh,
and we put
wow.
yellow hearts, because I said that took courage to say that
Yes.
publicly. And now she's working on herself, but she
Right.
admitted and saw that in
Wow.
the relationships with family, especially, she was saying she's the toxic person, and she's going to work on herself. So you didn't do anything wrong. I think that now you're wiser, because now
Yes.
you notice that, early signs that you can see when a friendship is being manipulative, too obsessed with you. They consume your time, and
Wow.
negative.
Yeah.
That's not healthy. That's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, now that the year is going to end and we're starting a new year, take a temperature, a health status of every relationship that's meaningful. How healthy is it from both parts? What you contribute and what you receive from them, and then tweak what you need to tweak.
That that right there, that right exercise right there is so valuable right now. If we do this at the end of the year, going into the next, and
Yes.
doing that for all the relationships, like,
The
so
meaningful ones, the ones that
the
you really,
meaningful, yeah,
not
like
to
the
say that
tears.
the other ones don't count, but start with your first tier,
Yeah.
and then even in your career, in partnership. Maria, let's put us as an example. You're on my list. I use it
Yeah,
for
make the
myself.
list.
You on
Ooh.
my list because you're a new friend on social media, and I
Correct.
want to get closer, right?
Correct.
So then when I put your name, what do I
Yeah.
want in the
Correct.
relationship? And then
Correct.
I think you and I, in the first session that we had, you were like, "Yes, I want to be your friend." Also,
Yes, let's be
so then for
friends. Come on.
you,
Mhm.
what would you like for me? So it may just be all about, right? It may be all about doing collaborations, or
Correct.
one day it could go a little more where we're like, you know
Yeah.
what? Besides collaborating, let's do a FaceTime just to talk about us, like how we're doing. And
Yeah.
that's fine. But we both can see where we're at with that. And we have
Right.
to notice that the word friendship, we use it very loosely. However, on TikTok or off social media, you may come across a person that you're like, that's my friend. That's my friend. And in reality, no, even at work, like now I'm not in my job that I used to be, that I have work friends, right? But oftentimes when you leave work, then sometimes people don't
They're
get in
gone.
contact with you. So you have to understand then that was a work friend. So remember
Correct.
when you were saying I have so many friends, but you have to see really, because sometimes people are really not friends. Sometimes they're acquaintances or business partners.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct.
But we're more comfortable saying, oh, this is my friend. Oh, this is my friend. And the expectation when they disappoint us, and you're like, wait a minute, they're not acting as a friend. And in reality, it's because it was just a person you collaborated, a business, it was friendly, but they
Wow.
really are not going to carry out the responsibilities of having even a beginning of a friendship. It was really
Wow.
transactional. But you got your hopes up because you were thinking in your head, oh, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
So it's being very, that's why when you put the names and you're very clear, what's the status of the relationship? What do you want from the relationship? And then what are you offering them? That you could see if it's healthy, if it's in good shape.
Wow. That's I'm just like blown away. Oh my God, I have to do a lot of tweaking on my end for sure. So let's move on to the
Okay.
next question. If you have any questions, any comments, make sure you post them, you put them in there, and we'll be able to answer them. So and then let's move on to the next question. In
Yes.
your work as a life coach, what are some of the most common struggles you see women that face building or maintaining authentic friendships? And how can they overcome these challenges?
Mm. So in women, particularly in my life, in coaching career and even counseling before, one of the things that many, I noticed that many women had in managing their expectations and friendship is that many women sometimes were finding it difficult that their friends were ghosting them, right? They
Mm,
were avoiding them. And one of the biggest challenge is because they had an issue with communication of difficult conversations. So many of the folks that I counsel, they were saying like, I'm losing friendships because when I want to have that difficult conversation, not that they're always right, what I'm noticing in these adult friendships, especially female friendships, they're very surface level. They don't want to go deeper.
mm,
And if you want to have a deeper relationship, then
yeah.
there's a mix match. And then there are others that they want to have difficult conversations, like you hurt my feelings, you didn't show up for something that was so meaningful for me. And what happens is instead of them having the conversation, they have more distance.
Oh, I see.
So what they're one of the challenges is folks are having is, how do I have that difficult conversation with my bestie? How do I have that difficult conversation with my friend? So instead of avoiding the friend, right? I
Yeah.
work with them on how you can have that sit down. And
Wow.
oftentimes I also say, instead of making it like you are both in their home or across from each other, go out for a walk, take a cup of coffee or tea, and say, let's go out for a walk. If it's too cold, of course, you have to go to a restaurant or a bar or something like that. I would say not in your home, so it's not so familiar, so it doesn't be as tense, because you want to be lighthearted about the conversation, even though you're about to talk about something difficult. And studies have shown that when we go out for a walk, doesn't matter if it's your friend, your sister, we get more dopamine, right, in our brain because we're already walking. So it's like an exercise. But when we're walking side by side, we're not as intense locked in where the other person may feel she's judging
Wow.
me. You're just walking. So when you're walking, you're feeling better because dopamine is being dropped, because as you're walking, that's what happens when we walk and exercise. So you start feeling a little better. And also as you're walking, it's almost like alongside, and you start feeling more open to talk. So they recommend that when you're going to have a difficult conversation, try to do it like if you go both out, coffee and tea, and say, let's go out for a walk. And then there you start talking, and you'll be surprised. You find a bench, you sit down. Now, if there's the temperature doesn't merit wherever you live, then I would say, listen, go out for brunch, or so not make it so intense to talk about the difficult conversation. And then quick tip that I'll give you, when it's a difficult conversation, don't start out with the difficult conversation. Start out with, how you've been. Oh, you look so nice. Give a compliment. Talk about what you maybe. Oh, I went to your son's baseball game. He did so well. How was that? Ease into it like 10 minutes or so, right? Because the person might be, God, what do you got to talk to me about? So ease it in and then say, thank you for coming and talking to me. I know this can be a little challenging. I'm a little nervous too, but lately you've been a little distant and I just want to know, get curious instead of blaming. Is everything okay with you? Lately you haven't been
Oh, wow. That's
now.
good.
Now, Maria, she's not
Good.
feeling attacked because you haven't answered my calls and you've been now.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. I like that.
Now let her tell you or him
Mhm.
why she's been MIA missing. It could really be that she's neglecting you, but get curious about what's going on. I notice, and then keep in the I feel, not you made me feel this way. I feel neglected. I feel sad. I am missing you. But what's going on? You've changed. What's happening? Then let them tell you. If they tell you something that you feel that it's BS, that you're like BS, then
Yeah.
say, I understand what you're saying. However, can we go a little deeper? Because you're saying that you didn't call me for the last month when you knew I was going to a doctor and we were following up, because really maybe they were scared of how to handle that conversation.
Yeah.
I've had friends tell me my friend just got diagnosed with cancer and I've been MIA for her and now she's hurt. But in reality is that I didn't even know what to tell her. I didn't even know what to say. So then you went MIA, now she's thinking she's not there for me and I'm in the worst moment of my life. So it's opening up and saying, listen, Maria, I don't know what to tell you at this moment, but if
Correct.
I'm here for you,
Correct.
instead of like, oh, it's Maria. Nope, not gonna answer. Oh, it's
Yeah.
Maria. I'm not gonna. And that's what we need to work on. And that's what I notice overall. A lot of difficulty of communication is people avoiding each other, not getting uncomfortable when they do something wrong too.
Yeah.
Some people gaslight a lot. No, that's not what I said. So there's a lot of that in relationships. So it's a lot of components, but mostly top of the line, I would say struggling with having difficult conversations with your friend, letting them know, and with grace. Some people call out people being very rude.
Yeah.
I've had friends in past that were rude and they've gotten better, but that they're like, I tell you like it is. And I'm like, you don't have to tell the truth. You don't
Yeah.
have to be abrasive. You
Yes.
Because remember, I am still human and I can get hurt
Yeah.
by your words. Words can be very sharp. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. So I hope that these tips help you and others that are listening. Because it's complex. But if it's worth it, right? If your relationships are worth it, it's worth being a little uncomfortable and learning how you can better communicate in your relationship and being accountable yourself. Because sometimes there's stuff that you're not
Yeah.
maybe, contributing to that friendship.
And I'm glad we're having these conversations and we've talked about manipulating, gaslighting, all these things that I did not love bombing, all these terms and I did not know what they were. And I'm glad that we're having conversations about this. I'm glad that this is a topic that I was very glad that you wanted to do and talk about it, because we put so much emphasis in relationships with our husbands, our kids, and we forget that we also have to take care of our friendships, our female friends. And there's competition sometimes there's so much competition between women, and it shouldn't be that way. We need to band together and help each other. And that's was one of the things that really drew me in about you when we met in TikTok,
Oh,
because it was like, wow, she's amazing and she's pro
thank
women and
you.
she's genuine and she's a Christian. And it was just like, oh my God, I found a
Checking off the
friend.
boxes, checking off the
Yes, it's
boxes of what you like in someone, right? Because everybody is
yes,
different.
and then
That's
you're
great.
Puerto Rican, and then you
Puerto
speak
Rico,
English and
wepa,
that, right? And then Denise also was talking, and you
yes.
came into the live, and you just were so positive and and I'm like, you just have this light that just draws you in, and I'm like, who's
Mhm.
that person? I want to know her. Denise the same. She was amazing
And
and
she's amazing.
supportive. And
Yeah.
then I thought, wow, this is somebody I want to be friends. So when we started talking, and then we had our own call, and I am like, I don't know what she does, but I want to support her in everything she does, however I can. And then it all started because we wanted to practice going live. And
Because of
then,
you, actually, can
yes,
I give you a shout out here? Because of you, because I
yes,
was stalling to go live, right? And I go live hosting and teaching on Instagram
yeah,
for
yeah.
now about 4 years. So I'm not new to teaching and going live, but on TikTok, I was new to going live, and you kind of pushed me off the net. You're like, girl, you're gonna go.
Let's do it. You're on
Just
it. Let's
do
do
it.
it.
And I did my first live almost close to midnight.
Yeah, I
No one knew
remember.
it
I
was
remember.
unscripted. Remember?
Yes, I was
Unscripted
there.
or whatever. And I did it. And from that moment to now, it's already a month
Yeah.
and a half.
Yeah, and I see
And
you all and you know what? It was so funny to not funny, but it was amazing to see you light up because then you started seeing friends, and I remember a Mrs. E that showed up. And you're like,
Mrs.
"What are you
E,
doing?"
yes,
And someone
Maritza,
showed
my
up,
childhood
and then they
sister.
started gifting you, and it
Oh,
just I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing!" It was. You see,
and being
I'm
so
very happy.
emotional on the platform, I've cried and because they have been so generous. You helped me so much. And you
Mm,
this is an example before you get to the next question.
yes,
This is an example about it's not how long you know someone, even though
yeah,
that's important and significant, because
yes,
I just met you a month and a half,
yeah,
and you already have become someone that
yeah.
has influenced me,
Mm,
inspired me. We're
the
working
same,
together. You
the same.
and you pushed me, right? And you didn't even push me to encourage me, but literally was like, press the button. I'm gonna
Let's
be
go
right
for
here
it.
on the other
Yes,
side.
I'm gonna be
Press
here.
the button right now. And that was not a close friend or my best friend who did
Yeah,
that for me. That
yeah,
was a stranger that became a
yeah,
right? And at that
yeah,
moment, it was like, who is this person, Maria? But I'm listening to her. So we have to be open also on
yeah,
social media. We're making friendships. Look at
yeah,
you, me and you, Denise. So don't
yeah.
knock social. That's why I said at the top when you asked the first questions about when we don't have time, how do we make
Correct.
time for people? There's technology that we could use, and it doesn't have
Yes.
to be technology, but you can use it from time to time instead of zero communication. I'd rather have something than nothing at all, because
Absolutely.
relationships, when they're not nourished, they will wither. And
Yeah.
people don't understand that in friendships because they're like, that's not your husband, it's not
Mhm.
your son, so that's fine. No, we friendships are very important, and I
Yeah.
value them and take them serious. So you got to work
Yeah.
in all of the relationships and be
Yeah.
very creative. So Maria, I thank you here publicly
Ah,
again
thank you. Thank you.
because
The
you
same way.
inspired
That's
me.
that, and I'm expecting you to help me in Instagram because when I'm me on Instagram, I don't know, but I'm a TikTok and Facebook, but I need to practice this year. That's gonna be one of my
That's
goals
good, good.
to because I have no idea. I have an account, but I'm like, oh, we'll see. But so let's go on to the next question because we have so much to talk about. And the next question is, can you share any personal stories or lessons that you've learned about the importance of friendship in your own life? And how have friendships shaped you as a woman, as a leader?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Right?
I have, personal stories and lessons. One that was very impactful to me was one that was 8 years ago. She's my sister. She's in heaven, not my blood sister, but we met in high school, and so she's my sister in my heart. Maritza Goma, may she rest in peace. She died at a very young age, lost her battle to cancer at age 44. I met her in
Wow.
high school. So I'm giving you guys the backstory so you could understand this big lesson that I learned. I met her in high school. Talk about friendship, right?
Wow.
And soon we became best friends. Soon we became sisters, inseparable. So we went to high school together, college together. I'm godmother to her daughter. She's auntie to my son, and we've been through everything together till I was there at her deathbed, and and throughout the journey of the 5 years with
Wow.
cancer, as well as when she took her last breath, I was there. A big lesson that I learned there was that at the same time, I had a best friend, right, that was helping me to cope with because she's my sister, with Maritza's illness throughout the years. As Maritza got worse in the last year, we knew that it was like the odds of her beating it was very slim. My former best friend, which we're no longer friends, at that moment we had a friendship of years, 6 7 years. she
Wow.
knew she knew Marissa too. And what happened was is that, because I'm not going to batch her here, nothing like that, but what happened was that she started what I mentioned before. She started pulling away, right? But I'm in my crucial moment with a sister who's
Wow.
getting ready to pass. Long story short, when Maritza passes, right, and it was devastating. That person that was my person, my best friend, wasn't there for me. And
Wow.
that's the person that I thought would be there. So that was my ride or die, in the sense of like, that was very close. She knew what we were going through. And we already had a relationship. I had to learn that I learned the importance of self-reliance,
Wow.
because what happened was I went into severe depression, because here I am losing my sister friend that passed away, right? And then the person that I thought, besides my family and my blood sisters, but that best friend, because that's a different relationship, right? Wasn't there for me. And other things happened. I don't want to get into that. But what I had to learn now, looking back, that was 8 years ago, and we're
Wow.
no longer friends. And there was no argument or nothing like that. But what I had to learn from that, and maybe you, the viewer that's seeing, can learn this too. Sometimes we put a lot on another person, like my ride or die, and they may not know how to cope with your life changes. And sometimes you have to rely more on yourself and also on God, but on yourself, and not so much on another person. I'm not excusing her, because that was very poor what she did. However, I learned that we also have to be our own best friend. We also have to understand that we have to learn how to self soothe, because here I was thinking that she was going to help me in my journey of grieving. And no, she added to it, because now she's a loss as well. So please take care of yourself in these relationships. Do your best not to put people, I wouldn't say a pedestal, but to think that they're always going to be there. The problem is, Maria, is that
Yeah.
former best friend, in the previous years, I had losses. My in laws passed away 9 months apart of also cancer. And
Wow.
guess what happened? That former best friend, in those two losses that happened a few years before my sister passed, she was there for me. That's why I was confused. She was there at the
Wow.
wake, helping me, all of that, my family. And so she changed. So what I'm saying with this lesson is that your ride or die or your best friend can change, and you may not like it, but you need to learn that they're human and not everything is forever. And I was naive to believe that, just like my sister friend that passed, it was to death do us part. I'm that
Yeah.
type of friend when it's that close,
Yeah.
right? But not all friendships take it like that. And also things happen and they change.
Yeah.
So the lesson there for me was that I have to be more self-reliant and understand that people do change and part ways. And sometimes you don't have an answer and you don't need the closure. You just need to rely on yourself more than anything, besides my God and my family. And it's so important. So that was a tough lesson for me. It really, it was 8 years ago. Now I can speak of it without crying.
Wow.
I had to heal from it. And listen, that person, if she ever sees this, you never know, or whatever, I love her and I know she loves me. And a year after, we were able to meet up again and have some type of closure. And from that, we didn't decide. We just said goodnight, and I haven't
Okay.
seen her since, and it's been years. So, and what I do is that I cherish that 7 year relationship was beautiful. I cherish that, because it was. I can't say that she wasn't. At the end, messed up, and then, you know, we parted ways by her choice. And I have to say it was a big lesson. But I didn't become bitter, is what I'm saying. I had trust issues, and I
Yeah.
say this because you, as the viewer, you may have had friendship breakups, and now you don't trust the next person, or now you say, I'll never have another best friend. And I felt like that to some degree. And I was blessed with, with another best friend who we were former friends before many years, and it's going great. But I understand that um we just never know. Now I'm not of the thinking this will be forever in all of my
Correct.
I have to an understanding that things can change and we just have to work on it. And in that other relationship, there was a lot of distancing
Yeah.
without any talk. Remember what I was
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
The
I think that
silence.
I think that person was having
Mm.
a challenge of dealing with the difficult conversation of my grieving, as well as
Oh,
whatever she felt, and I'll leave it at that.
yeah.
And that's what I'm saying to everyone who's viewing. And even if it's not your friendship, it could be your husband, it could be another relationship. Do your best not to have too long of a time in not addressing the elephant in the room. If something's off, whatever, because then you start drifting, and next thing you know, you've lost a friendship without really giving it an opportunity that maybe it could
Correct.
be saved, right? So I hope that that helps in me sharing, because you asked me that so personal. I
Yes.
told you that it was fine. Because I'm a coach and a mental health
Yeah.
professional, but I'm human, and
Absolutely.
I want people that are viewing to know that we need to be kinder to ourselves, as well as understand that the other person that maybe hurts you, even though it's not intentional, they also have their struggles, and some folks don't know how to really navigate the friendship. If there's that big change of the death of my sister impacted, and I think the Smiley that was grieving is not the same Smiley that was in that relationship prior. So I think maybe there was things that she couldn't handle. I don't have all the
Yeah.
answers. But that happens, and maybe you as the viewer, you
Yeah.
your friend, and you're the one who hasn't been there for them. There's a lot of damage that happens with that. So try your best not to ghost people and leave them on limbo without them knowing what happened. Right?
I was one of the things that I learned from talking to you is that I didn't see friendships like a relationship, like you have breakups and you have mending to do or healing.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've learned listening to you is that I can have breakup heartache from a friendship. Like that's
Yes.
a friendship breakup. That's a real thing. I didn't think, that only
Yes.
happens like a husband and wife, but I that was something that
Oh,
I learned. I
yes.
didn't know. I it was so I've learned so much, and I've been putting words and terms and things from you, and if you can talk just last point, how do you heal from a friendship breakup? How
It's a
would
lot of work. It's a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
it's a lot of work. And depending how significant that relationship is too. Because I know that David Kessler, and he does a lot on grieving, and he says that when someone asks, because that's grieving, the part when you break up with your friend, and that's a breakup, there is a process of grief in that loss, even though the person didn't pass away, but they're no longer your friend. So how you exist in the world with that person, now that person is not with you, you still exist, but the things that you did with that person now is different, because the other people, maybe you don't do the same thing, or it's not the same. So he was saying that when someone says get over not get over your grief, but when people say, how long are you going to grieve, 2 years, 3 years for your best friend, come on, whatever, he says, well, how significant was that relationship, and if it's the person that passed away, how long is that person going to be dead? Forever. So your grief could be,
Wow. Yeah.
you got to cope with it, but don't expect people to, oh, if
Yeah.
somebody passed away, that they in 8 years, oh, they should be fine. No, because for forever that person is gone. So that
Yeah.
hurt is always there. Now, when it comes to friendships and you healing from heartbreak, I would say I did it wrong. And I'm going to be transparent, and I don't mind sharing
Yeah.
this because I think it's a lesson for everyone who's watching. When I was grieving my sister that passed, and at the same time, my best friend ghosted me and eventually parted ways without me knowing what was going on, I did not face the, I did not understand that it was two separate grief. I had it all bundled in one, and
Oh, yeah.
it's not. And then
Oh,
it's not.
wow.
Then I went to grief therapy for my sister. I
Yeah.
did. And when I mentioned my best friend wasn't there, when my sister passed, they told me those are two separate grief. Those
Oh,
are two separate loss.
wow.
So
Wow.
you are bundling everything up. And then I didn't go to therapy for grief therapy in over a year after. So I suffered more than I should have for a whole year because I
Wow.
was in denial of wanting to talk it out. I didn't want to even hear out loud that my sister passed. I didn't want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
acknowledge it. But what was happening is that other person that also, I mean, parted, but by choice, I had a lot of anger and a lot of
Wow.
hurt. So what I ask you guys to understand that when you're in that place, the anger on top to help you cope of what really hurts. Because once the anger is removed, all you're left is the vulnerability of the raw pain. So when we're angry, we have the adrenaline of the attitude, and that's
Correct.
the defense mechanism. But if you stay there too long, right, you're not dealing with the hurt. So what I would ask you to do, not to do like me, and is to try to work through your anger, right? Work through it. What journaling, writing a letter to that person, even though you're not going to send it to them, and then burning it or ripping it, but letting your feelings
Yeah.
out. Speak with trusted individuals. I unfortunately spoke with some people that I trusted, but then I closed myself because then I
Oh, yeah.
then trust came in, the mistrust,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I say reflect on whatever that heartache is of your friend, that that there's a breakup, acknowledge it.
Wow.
Try your best not to listen to people that
Okay.
are saying get over it. That's a friend, it's not your husband, it's not. Listen, your feelings are very valid.
Yeah.
Missing that person. And do your best also, if you notice that it's interfering with your work or your lifestyle, or even if it's not interfering, getting a therapist for a friendship
Yes.
breakup, you can do that. Some
Wow.
people say,
Good.
oh my God, that's embarrassing, that's petty. No, it's not, because it's your feeling.
Correct.
So you can get a counselor, right? And then look at journaling, writing things down. Give yourself space also, because, and especially the closer you were, the bigger the hurt, the
Wow.
deeper that wound will be. And don't compare anybody else to that person that has left, right? Because I went through a phase, and I'm being transparent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I was comparing them to that best friend that ghosted me. And I was like, but they're not doing this, they're not doing that. The good things, the things that I loved. And then I had to understand they're never going to be that ex person, because that person was that person. So I have to
Correct.
now make new memories, right? And then learn from what I just went through. Maybe also I didn't address with that person earlier on. Listen, you have been not answering. Can we talk? I one or two times, and they decided not to, but I didn't push it because I also was grieving the loss of my sister. So I was
Yes.
a mess. But I would say don't go so long without having the difficult conversation. I went very long giving the space because I
Correct.
also was grieving of something else. So that harm, I think that also contributed to how things happened. So when you're healing, make sure, and if you're a person of faith, your prayers, meditation, love yourself
Yeah.
more, journal, lean on those that can handle your heart. Because
Oh, wow.
also there are friends that you have that they're not too good with sensitive stuff, and you know who they are.
Yeah.
So do not open up to them expecting
Mhm.
that because
Yeah.
they're hurting. Now they're going to change on how
Correct.
they handle stuff. We all have friends in our group that one that's more about when something's sensitive, they have a hard time. So
Yeah.
that's not the person to say to bombard with what you're feeling, right? Because they may
Correct.
not know how to handle it, and you're very fragile when you're grieving. So you
Yeah.
don't want to go to someone that's going to add to your wound. So make sure that it's trusted people, that you could trust them with the vulnerability of your heart. Not everybody could do that, even if they're your good friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. I've learned. I keep learning so much. So where can we find you? Where can we find you? So take a moment, tell us what you're working on. Where can people find you? And I'll
So
make
cool.
sure that on the YouTube, once we upload it on YouTube, that all the links are there so they can find you. But
Yes.
tell us what you're working on, and tell us where they can find you.
Well, now what I've been working on is digital products for tools for goal planning, self-love. So if you I'm across social media. So on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, I'm Smilie Empowerment, right? Smilie is my real name. I say this because I've had people tell me I can't find you because they spell it with a Y. So it's Smilie. So across Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, I'm Smilie Empowerment. on TikTok, which has been growing. I go live on TikTok as Coach Smiley, not Smiley Empowerment, Coach Smiley. On TikTok, I go live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, different topics. Over there on TikTok, I put music also because I like to do manifestation and affirmation with music. Merengue, salsa, hip hop,
Oh
just like
yeah.
powerful affirmations to raise our frequency high. So that's on TikTok, Tuesday,
I
Wednesday,
I
Thursday.
love when you do the thingy.
Oh, when I do
Oh, that
this,
stuff. I like that stuff. I
when
don't know
I
what
do
it's called,
this,
but it's like the little bowl. That. Yes, I like that.
I and then I do this too.
Oh,
That goes on
I
the
like
golden
that.
side.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
and that's so helpful. So on TikTok, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. And I go live there to teach on different topics like this. It's more entertaining because TikTok lets you put
Oh
music and it's a
yeah.
little different. On Instagram, Smiley Empowerment, I go live Tuesdays, martes de empoderamiento. It's for only in Spanish. So it's empowerment, martes de empoderamiento. That means Tuesdays of empowerment in Spanish at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And then Thursdays on the same platform, Instagram, I do it in English at 7 p.m. And you can go to the link in any of those bios or smileyempowerment.com. But you can go on the link, and meaning if you're in the platform on Instagram, go to my profile on Smiley Empowerment, go to the link. There you can subscribe for free, guys, for free to my newsletter. Why do I say that? The newsletter every Wednesday, I give you tips on different topics. So every Wednesday, you don't get spam, you get emails from me once you enlist, and you get every week. It's like having Coach Smiley via email, just giving tips every week.
Wow.
So go to the newsletter there. And also I have a shop. So I have merch, positive merch, like t-shirts, like I have a hoodie that says wear your crown with the mug. And that's all
Oh,
about women empowerment. And also digital products, tools that you can
yes.
use, and you can download them on your phone, the different journals for self-love, for planning your goals, right? For affirmations. You can go there and you could download whichever digital journal you would like because it's by subject, right? And then you can do it on your phone or tablet. I love that. And I'm working on design. Oh, and it's in English and Spanish. My journals are in English and Spanish. So if you speak Spanish, el diario está ahí, que lo
Yeah.
pueden conseguir. Everything affordable and things like that. I am working on um the Boss Chicas Club Circle of Trust. I have a club for women, Boss Chica Club Circle of Trust, and I have 6 women that are actively there.
Oh
We just did a
wow.
90-day program within the group. And then with this group, I have ambassadors in Florida, ambassador here in New York. I have Boss Chicas in North Carolina, Florida, here in New York. And what we're doing is we want to spread. So like that, we travel together. We're going to do our first retreat, hopefully in April. And the Boss Chicas, I do coaching, group coaching. They get one-on-one. All of that is in smileyempowerment.com. You could get all of that information.
Which is
And,
right here on the screen. So just
and the
follow
podcast.
it.
Lastly,
Yes.
Smiley Empowerment Podcast. And I am working on some new episodes. I've gone global with the podcast. So now there's folks
Yes.
in the Philippines, Africa, where else? The Philippines, Africa, Canada, um, India. They download, and I'm like, who are these individuals? But they're downloading the episodes. I have more than 50 episodes, all about empowerment, especially for women. So I'm working now on some new topics. So I welcome folks to message me and let me know if there's a topic of interest, and I can record it and train on it. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, as well as Maria, the last thing that I am working on is working with nonprofits and private agencies to go in person or virtually, to work with their team on improving team building, team communication. And also I develop a special program for managers, because studies have shown that a high percentage of people leave their work, resign. It's not for better pay, and it's not for better opportunities. Number one reason most often is having a poor relationship, disappointment with management.
Yes.
So I developed a program for managers, not just for their team, but an assessment tool for them to analyze themselves with my assessment tool. And then we tailor a program to help them become better leaders. And then
Wow.
there's a separate program for the team in whatever they're working on, effective communication. So that's all team building. So across the board, that's what I'm doing, and collaborating with people, amazing people like you, collaborating, getting the word out of Smiley Empowerment, the community, serving women of color and Latina and all women, and also people, because I in my community, almost like there's like a 80% of that it's women, and there's like a 20%, it fluctuates, that they're men, and they speak to me and tell me, Smiley, what about us? And I'm working now on doing some particular topics for men. Like, men can be emotional. How do a lot of men hold their feelings, and then it comes out in anger and other ways, because we women sometimes want our men to be sensitive. And
Yeah.
then what happens is that we mock them when they show a little sign of fragility or something. Ay, ¿qué te pasa? Why are you crying? What? And then the men are feeling like, oh, I got to man up again. So I've had men in private share that with me, and they've shared with me, Smiley, I love when you talk about men being fragile and how they can share their emotions and the mental health piece for men. So I'm working a little bit on designing something geared towards men. And I'm so happy that I was here. And thank you for having me.
Well, oh my God. So I just want to tell everybody to make sure you go to www.smileyempowerment.com. All her information is there. Find her in all her platforms, and definitely stay tuned, because we are going to come back. And we made this night, and we're gonna say, okay, today we're gonna
Yeah,
share
I'm
so
on.
much. So we'll be back. If you want to stay tuned, we will be back. And for those watching on Facebook, we will be back and with another topic that I believe is very important. So stay tuned. If you're watching on YouTube, just go on to the next episode. You're gonna really learn a lot. It's something that it's very now needed. So we'll share about that. Stay tuned. Thank you so much, and have a good night. And let me get us here. Well, let's
Night.
let's, let's practice saying goodbye this time. 'Cause that's
I thank you for having me.
all right. Thank you.